Good morning to everyone. Welcome back to History Period. Dear students, we are going to discuss today's topic, and that will be, I think, two topics we are going to discuss, which will be the last two topics of our chapter 2, that is from trade to territory. And then we will have kind of revision, and then your class test date or chapter test date will be given. So let us begin with today's period. And in our previous period we have discussed about the Anglo-Maratha War, means the war which was fought between Marathas and the British or the English. And there were three wars fought between Marathas and Britain or British, and the last war which was fought between 1817 to 1819, and it was a decisive war because in that war also British have won already, and then they have deposed or removed the Peshwa and sent him to northern India on pension. That one we already discussed. And then British, they now started having or ruling over the southern parts of the vineyards. Okay. And then we also have learned what a Peshwa means. A Peshwa is actually a prime minister who is a subordinate of the king or Chhatrapati of Maratha, but later on they have more role than that of the Chhatrapati. Okay, because the Chhatrapati remained the nominal king, nominal ruler, but the main leader was the Peshwas. And in our today's period we are going to learn about a topic called doctrine of lapse. So what is the meaning of doctrine of lapse? Lapse means usually a gap where we have the general meaning, but in today's period we are going to learn what does the doctrine of lapse. Actually it's a policy. We'll learn about what policy it is actually. So it was under the Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General from the year 1848 to 1856. Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General of British from the period which is given in the screen. And then in his period the final wave of annexation occurred. Final wave of annexation means it was the final time, or it was they become more confident, British become more confident, and now they have started ruling or controlling, trying to conquer the states. So now this is the final wave when they are trying to conquer the states, entire territory of the country. Now, the doctrine of lapse is a policy. As I told you, it's a policy which is sorry, yeah, I'll just show you, devised by him. So, who is him here? So, who has devised or who has introduced a policy called doctrine of lapse? It is Lord Dalhousie, and his period of governor generalship is the 1848 to 1856. So he was the governor general during this period, and in this period he introduced or he devised the or he adopted one policy called doctrine of lapse. British adopted this policy of lapse. British adopted means if he has introduced, he has adopted means it is the on behalf of British. Alright, now what is the doctrine of lapse actually? So let us learn about that. So according to this policy, what is that policy we are going to learn? So according to this policy, if an Indian ruler he died, if an Indian ruler he died and he does not have a son, a legal son, if he does not have a legal son, higher means his own son, okay, so legal male son, obviously it should be male only, son if he is a son. So if he do not have a legal male hire means it's a his own child, okay, so he could not pass on their property, so he could not pass on his property, the ruler cannot pass his property to the adopted son. He must have a legal son, then only he can pass on the property to the legal son. But if he has an adopted son, he do not have a legal son, then he cannot pass on that property to the adopted son, and with it would be taken over by the British if he do not have a legal son and he cannot pass on to the adopted son. So the property will be now taken by the British if he do not have his own son. but if he has his own son, then it will be automatically gone to his own son. But according to this policy, if a ruler do not have his own son, legal son, after his death the property will directly go to British. Okay, so his kingdom would lapse, means his kingdom would have a lapse of ruling power in that period. That is become a part of the company territory. Now that become a part of the British. Company territory means that part, that kingdom become a part of the Britishers. All right. Now, Satara, Sambhalpur, Jhansi were annexed by this policy. So these were the places during which period the policy doctrine of lapse have been adopted in these particular places. Okay. Then after that, administration under British. So this is another topic. How was the administration under the British? Now, Warren Hastings was the Governor General. Before Dalhousie, Warren Hastings was the Governor General. So, Governor General from 1773 to 1785 played a significant role in the expansion of the company power. We have already learned that it was the Warren Hastings period only. They Britishers, they started to they started to conquer over the Bengal. So it was his time only. The British, they started to have the expansion of the company power. Now during his time, the company had acquired power in Bengal, which we learned, Bombay and Madras. So during his period, during Warren Hastings period, the company, they started to have, or they acquired their power in Bengal, Bombay and Madras. British territories were broadly divided into administrative units called presidencies. Now, British territories, the territories which are acquired by the British, the territories of, actually they are Indian territories or Indian states, but or Indian places, but that was acquired, that was powered by, or that was ruled by the British now, or the power is under the hands of the British. So it is said that the British territories, means now as the power is being under the British, so it become British territories. So British territories were broadly divided into some smaller administrative units which are called as presidencies. So one mark question can be asked. What do you mean by presidency? So presidency means it is the smaller units of the administration, or smaller administrative units of British. Uh, Actually, the British territories which were broadly divided into the administrative units which are considered as the presidencies. So there were three presidencies now, as we have learned that during Warren Hastings period, three places were being conquered, that is Bengal, Madras and Bombay. So they have now three presidencies even under the Warren Hastings period. So each one was ruled by a governor. Now every presidency was ruled by a governor. Okay. From 1772, a new system of justice was established. From 1772, there was a new justice, a new judicial method was being introduced. That is what, according to this new system, each district needed to have two courts, not only one single court. Each district must have two courts. So, what are the two courts? One is the criminal court, then Faujdari Adalat. Another one is the civil court, means Diwani Adalat, where civil activities are being conducted, or it is being considered, or it is being seen. So there are two courts, criminal court and the another one is the civil court, Diwani Adalat, where other matters are being solved. So criminal court means related to the criminal matters, and here the other matters are being considered. So under the supervision of the collector. So it was under the, these two courts must be there in every district, and every district must already have a collector. So it is the like under the supervision of the collector, two courts should be there for every district. New set of laws were compiled. So British, they have started to have introduced new set of laws by muftis and the Brahmins for the religious interpretation. For religious interpretation was also new, religious new laws have been introduced by every for every religion. the Regulating Act of 1773, a new Supreme Court was established. A new Supreme Court was established under the Regulating Act of 1773, while a court of appeal, the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, was also set up at Calcutta. So this was another court which was set up at Calcutta, that is the Sadar Nizamat Adalat. Name of the court is the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, was also set up at the Calcutta. So new Supreme Court was established, while a court of appeal, that is the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, was also set up in Calcutta during this period. Now, the collector was the principal figure in an Indian district. That is even now it is going on. So, the collector was the principal figure, who is the prime or who is the head of a particular district. His job was to collect revenue and taxes and maintain law and order in his own district. So main role of the collector is to collect the revenue and taxes, and also to look after the or to maintain the law and order in his own district with the help of judges, police officers and darogas. Daroga also same like police only. So what is the role of a collector? A role of a collector is to collect revenue and taxes. Along with that, he also has to supervise, or he also has to maintain the law and order in his district. With whom? With the darogas, with the judges, with the police officers. Okay. Then, in India, colonial rule brought some new ideas of administration and reform. So, during colonial period, there was new ideas of administration was being brought by the Britishers. New changes, new administrative methods have been introduced in the country. The Mughal army composed of cavalry, Mughal army who composed of it consists of the cavalry. Cavalry means the sawars, which are trained soldiers on horseback. I think you have seen in movies also soldiers coming in horse. So they are known as cavalry. So cavalry means the soldiers who are trained, or the trained soldiers on horseback. Okay. And infantry, other one is the infantry. Infantry means the pedal, means the foot soldiers. You might have seen that as well. Some are coming in horses and some are while walking also. So those who are the climbing on a horse, or who are the soldiers who are climbing on a horse, they are basically considered as the cavalry. And infantry means those who came walking, that is by foot. Okay. So the army of Mughal was dominated mainly by the cavalry, means those who come with a horseback. I mean, getting back to climbing on a horse. So trained soldiers which are on horseback, it was mainly dominated by the Mughal armies. And in the 18th century, changes occurred when Mughal successor states like Awadh and Banaras started recruiting peasants to their armies and training them as the professional soldiers. Now, as because the British, they have their own army, soldiers, so Indian territories or Indian states, they also wanted to have the army, or we can say defense, or the army in a very large number, or maybe a trained army. They also required to fight against British. So Mughal successors, they also have done something for increasing the number of soldiers. They have recruited the peasants. Peasants mean the agricultural labors, or we can say the those farmers. Okay, small farmers. So these farmers were being recruited as the armies by providing them with proper training to become a professional soldier, because now India also needs soldier to fight against the colonial rule. That's why the in 18th century there was a changes that beside the those were the original armies, or original soldiers. Beside that, there were another soldier added to the Indian army or Indian soldier group, and it was the peasants. The small farmers of from basically from Awadh and Banaras. Okay, and then that was Indian part. Okay, Indian army. Now what about the British army? So the East India Company adopted the same method which came to be known as the Sepoy army. They were continue with the same, the Sepoy army which was initially they had. So, and it was from Indian word Sipahi. The Sepoy army, the word Sepoy means it came from the word mm, Sipahi. Okay, so just 1 minute. Yeah, Sipahi meaning soldier. So in the early 19th century, the British began to develop a uniform military culture. In the early 19th century, British also have developed a uniform military culture. So soldiers were, what is that culture? That culture is that soldiers were subjected to European style training. They are now trained with the European style, with drill, discipline, and regulated their life far more than before. So they were again trained, the soldiers were again, the Sepoy army was again trained in European style. They were given drill practices, discipline to be maintained. So it was far better than that of the before. So they were trained more so that they become more professional and they can defeat the Indian territories. All right, so this is all about the today's period, where we have learned mainly first thing about the doctrine of lapse, which means that, and it was introduced by whom? It was introduced by Lord Dalhousie. And what is that doctrine of lapse means? It means the when a ruler does not have his own son, then his property will not go to his adopted son, rather it will go to the British, and there will be a lapse in his kingdom. Next, we have learned about the administration under British, where different laws and different institutions have been introduced by the Britishers. Okay, first they have acquired the power in Bengal, Bombay, and Madras, and they have formed the presidencies where in Bombay, Madras, and Bengal. Then again there was a new judiciary system or new system of justice was being established, which include that every district must have two courts. One is the criminal court, another one is the civil court. Criminal court means the matters related to criminal, and then civil court means the other matters. So there must be two courts in every district, which is under the supervision of the collector. And then new set of rules have been introduced even for the religious interpretation also. Then under the regulating act, Supreme Court was being established, and while a court, that is the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, was also established in Calcutta. The next, the collector was the main role who has in a particular district. He has to look after, he has to collect the revenue and taxes, and also he has to maintain the law and order in his own district, along with the help of the judges, police officers, and the darogas. Then we have learned about the Company Army of India and armies of India and the Company Army, that is the British Army. So in Indian Army, which include two types mostly. One is the cavalry and the infantry, and Mughals have the cavalry, that is who the trained soldiers who come on the horseback. So Mughal have that one, and Mughals, they started to have more, or they started to recruit more numbers of soldiers so that they can defeat the Britishers. And those new soldiers were the peasants of Awadh and Banaras basically, and they were given professional training also. The next, the Company Army, that is the British Army, who has the Sepoy Army, were already a trained armies, and with different tools they carry. So this Sepoy Army, again they were better trained by the European style to become more strong to defeat the territories of the country. So that's all for today. We will have a recapitulation of the chapter in our next day, and after that I'll be also giving you some more question answers. Yesterday I already have given you a few question answers. Again we'll be giving you some more. then you have to prepare for your test, and I'll let you know about the date for the test. Okay, thank you so much.